Positive.
Yeah. I was gonna jump in. I was waiing for the right time.
Okay.
But yeah,
You're right. You never talked about the 200. I never hear you talk about the 200.
I mean, I ran it in college.
Action.
You run with
He
Bob
said
Kersee,
action.
You run everything.
Yeah. Ready. Got started. So I forgot everything we just talked
That's
about.
okay. It's we're off the cuff, so it's all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe that was practice for us.
Yeah.
That's good.
It was.
Ready?
All right. We ready? All right. All right. Welcome everybody. It's Coach Andre with TRAKWYRE Media.
Start over.
See what I mean? See what you did to me, Jeff? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Welcome everybody. This is Coach Andre with TRAKWYRE Media, along with my co-host, Coach Pearson.
What's up?
Welcome to another episode of TRAKWYRE Media, and very excited about this episode. We have a couple guests in the house. We have Coach Chandler Cross out of Mountain View High School, head track coach at Mountain View High School. And then we also have Olympian Gail Devers, but she's not just an Olympian. She's a mother, a wife,
Coach.
see what I mean? She's a coach. She's a
old.
community leader.
She's team mom.
No, you're team mom.
She does commentating as well. She's a commentator, and she also is a advocate for Graves' disease and thyroid disease. So we're very excited to have Miss Gail Devers in on this conversation, one of our very early podcasts. Appreciate you coming out, Miss Devers.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome. Thank you.
I would stand up and give you a
Stop.
standing ovation, Gail. I might knock over the mic. So.
Right. So listen, before we dive into a few things, we want to talk about your career a little bit. More importantly, we want to talk about some of the things yourself and Coach Cross have done with Mountain View High School track team, along with the rest of the staff over there. Also talk about the Gail Devers Invitational, the GDI meet, which is going to be your second annual meet you're going to host coming up this spring. We're going to go over a couple of your accolades, and just correct me if I get anything wrong, because there's a lot of information about you out there. and it's exciting because you, honestly, Gail, I got to tell you this, when I first met you, I know we met early on when you had the book.
Right.
You came out to one of our meets, did a book signing, coming out there to Mountain View as one of the coaches. You don't talk and brag a lot about what you've done in your career. And I find that and I don't like to use the word humbling. I find that someone who respects the sport, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You don't have to talk about it all the time because you've done it, and you can still run over the hurdles, and you can also still do it. So
With boots on.
Right,
Very
with
well.
boots on.
With boots
Right,
on.
with
I've seen
boots
it in
on.
person.
Yes.
It's quite extraordinary.
So
Alex don't know what they're missing out on.
So you are a graduate of Sweetwater High School, which is out of Southern California, San Diego.
Yes.
Attended UCLA, which is also in Southern California.
Bruins, woo woo, Bruins.
Now I believe you're one of two athletes, correct me if I'm wrong, one of two athletes that have won the gold medal in the 100 meters in back-to-back Olympics. 1992 and 1996.
For the United States. Now we've got, our Jamaicans have come up. So,
Okay.
Shelly Ann Fraser. So, look, I'm looking this year because our last gold medal for the United States was mine in 1996. That was a long time ago.
Really?
So, I'm looking for this team that we're going to bring, for them to bring home the gold.
I agree.
Nice.
I agree.
Nice.
Let's get it.
World champion outdoor in 1993 in the 100-meter hurdles, 1995 the 100-meter hurdles, 1997 100-meter hurdles, world champion as well. Also, National Track and Field Hall of Famer. And I didn't even talk about your indoor accomplishments.
I know, but all that makes me sound old. I mean, I feel old.
96, I was in kindergarten.
I know. See, here we go. Here we go.
So in 96 was the Atlanta Olympics,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes. Nice. Okay. So tell me, how did you get into the sport of track and field?
My brother My brother made me run. He was like, you're going to high school. I was 15, getting ready to go into my sophomore year, which was high school for us back in the day. And I say that my youngest daughter, Legacy, always says, back in the day, like, she makes me feel old.
Oh,
so
no.
back in the day,
I
high school was 10th, 11th, and 12th grade.
Right.
And so I started running cross country because he said, you got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to track season, and I decided that I was not going to run 2 miles on the track because that just was not working for me. But we went to, I actually enjoyed cross country. I loved it. Went to, our state championships and stuff like that in cross country. I think I placed 5th one year or something.
Nice.
And then when track season came around, I won at the 800 because it was 2 laps. I figured,
Right.
okay,
Oh, that was easy
back then you ran it was like you just stayed with everybody else and then you start building.
Right,
So
right.
basically that's how I ran it. And I think in one of the meets, I know I ran 2:11. I've heard since then that it was faster. I didn't know it.
A 2:08.
And
You
I
dropped-
apologize for not knowing my
but
time.
you dropped the 2:08. That's moving in the 800.
Yes.
So,
yes.
and then
Don't take
after
away those
that,
2 cents.
just, every year somebody would suggest that I try a different event, and I was always willing to do whatever. And I went from the 8 to the 4 to the hurdles. I did run the 2, but I kind of skipped around. Got to the 100-meter hurdles, 300 hurdles, and then long jump and triple jump.
You also triple jumped.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what was UCLA looking at when they recruited you?
I was actually recruited by Homer Smith, who was the football coach at UCLA. So we go back in the day.
Right.
I'm a Title IX baby, so we didn't have these kids have YouTube. They can just send their little
Right,
whatever.
right.
You had to find somebody if you were looking for them.
Right.
Newspaper articles, microfiche, all that kind of stuff. And so football players, we had pretty good football team at Sweetwater. So the coaches would come in and look at like basketball players, football players, and they were like, oh, there's this girl who wears these really high white socks. You got to check her out. Now, people are like, why did you wear, because I had muscles. I've always had like calves. And I was like, I thought I was covering them up. I only
Right.
made it worse
You were
wearing the long
conscientious
white,
about 'em, huh?
white socks, So they said, you got to check her out. And so Homer Smith went back and told the track coach, and the track coach started recruiting me. I signed my letter of intent, and then that track coach was actually fired. And so they let me out of my letter of intent, said, we don't feel that we should hold you obligated to
Right.
that. And I told him, I said, I'll pray about it. I'll see what happens. I prayed about it, and I said, you know what, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I didn't know why, but it was where, because,
Right.
my parents let me make that decision. They're like, this is you. And I signed, still not knowing who the coach was going to be.
Wow.
And then it ended up being Bob Kersee.
Wow.
So that's the only coach I've ever had. So
Wow.
See that?
like, I always tell people, you're supposed to follow your destiny. Wherever
Yes.
it leads you, and in your heart.
Right.
It's that gut.
Right.
And it just told me that that's where I was supposed to be. And like I told people, I've only had him and myself as my coach.
Nice.
Well, I'm sure your name was spread around because if you were competing in that many events, I understand why a football coach. I was going to ask you, did you play basketball, play soccer? Did you play everything?
I was the base runner for our baseball team. I got MVP for our baseball. And no, other than that, I was that school person. I never missed a day of school from
Ooh,
kindergarten
wow.
to 12th grade.
Academic achievement.
I didn't say academic. I just said I was there.
Right.
Just didn't
I
miss
just said I
school.
was there. No, I was okay in school.
That's nice. Now, were any other schools looking at you besides UCLA?
Like LSU, there was USC,
Right.
the other USC in California, different schools. But because I didn't miss a day of school,
Right.
I didn't want to take a visit.
Ah.
I was like, I'll figure out where I want to go.
Wait, so nowadays it'd be like,
How
such
many
and such
visits do
wants
I
you to come
get?
on a visit. Oh, okay. Let me pack my bag.
I'm gone.
I'm gone.
I was just, I don't know why I was like that. It didn't net me anything. I just,
Right.
we grew up knowing that if you have a job, you go to work. And if you don't have a job, you better be in school.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had truant officers and
Right.
all that kind of
Right,
stuff.
right,
Yeah,
So,
right,
yeah.
right.
you don't
Yes.
play. So I was at school.
That shows the discipline as well.
Right.
That you didn't want to take visits
Nope,
because you
I didn't
wanna
take a
miss
visit.
School.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
I joined a club when they went to UCLA. I actually joined the club. People don't even know this.
Wow.
I joined the club for the day so I could take that visit because you have to be at school half the day. So we were there half the day,
okay.
and then we got on the road to LA and went to visit. And I looked around and I was like, okay. Let's go.
Nice.
So that was it.
Yeah. That's a great story. So the transition, so how was the transition though, going from the 8 and doing more of the sprints?
I mean, I think for me it was fine. It was, I had come from that cross country background.
Right.
So I had been running cross country and then doing the 800. So for me, it was like, oh, every event was like shorter and shorter and less time. And I was
Gotcha.
good. Got to the 100 meters straight away. Don't have to worry about anything, but that I didn't really concentrate until I got into college. But even in college, I qualified for nationals in 8 events.
Wow.
1 year because I was running. Got to remember, in college, it's about points.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was a team player because I didn't have a team in high school.
True.
It was, I won I think I came in 3rd in state by myself, and I won all of our nationals because if you win 4 events, you get 40 points.
Right.
And all you could run was 4 events.
Right.
So I did that at every meet.
Wow.
So we got like CIF patches, we got all
Right.
kinds of stuff, that was like mine.
Okay.
So
what was your training like? And will you say that contributed? Because if you're running that many events, your training must be otherworldly just to incorporate that much endurance.
I still keep in touch with my, high school football coaches because they were our coaches. And even they were like, they did what they could.
Right.
Whether they knew or whatever, it's like, I know you got to run. You got to go on the road. You got to do this. I mean, my dad used to come and like, okay, you guys going on the road? You going on a 5-mile road run? He'd take his truck and follow us.
Right.
Just to make sure we're safe or whatever. I think it's about your heart.
True.
It's about what you believe. Other people, and I say it even now, what other people believe that you can or cannot do, it has nothing to do with them.
Right.
It's about you, what you're willing to work for.
Right.
And me, I was like new, didn't know anything, didn't know form. I preach now, track toe, and I'm like, back then my toe was, So when you know better, you do better.
Right.
But back then it was just about anything that they could figure out, like teaching me how to hurdle. Coach Allen would like find something and go over this thing, go over that. And if you're willing to do it, and in a meet, it's about guts.
True.
I
Yes.
remember running at one of our Metro League finals or whatever, and I got out, I was running the 300 hurdles. Me and my friend, we always called ourselves like the 1-2 hurdle crew. Got out, and I fell. I'm like, that's just the story of my life. I fell over the hurdle, and you could hear my mom in the stands say, everybody's like, get up,
Right.
because I fell over the first hurdle because I was really trying to go after in 300 hurdles, fell over the first hurdle, and everybody in the stands, when we played it back, they were like, get up, get up. You hear my mom say, stay down, I'm coming back. I'm like, oh, Lord, this lady right here. So, I ended up getting up and ended up still winning the race. And so I tell people, it's about... It's guts.
Right.
Yes.
It's that you're willing to pull every muscle in your body to
Right.
get across that finish line.
Right.
If there's a goal that you've set for yourself, you can't let anybody deter you from achieving that goal.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Right.
That's it. I love that. And I mean, I know we can go on forever about being coached by Bob Kersee. Talk about legendary. I mean, there's a lot of track coaches out there, and you have a lot of track coaches out today, but no one's I don't think there's a better
No, he is the GOAT.
He is the GOAT.
He's the GOAT. And it's even our track camp. I was the baby coming in because I was that
and
young.
I remember you telling me that.
I was the baby. We had Florence, or Flo Jo, everybody calls her Flo Jo. We had Florence, we had Greg Foster, we had Andre Phillips, we had Jeanette Bolden, Alice Brown, Jackie Joyner Kersee, just tons of people.
Right.
So we trained in this world class, and that's what we were
Right.
called, world class AC. We were world class AC. So every day in practice was like a meet. You get to the meet, you could care less about the people that you're about to run with.
Yes.
Because every day it's
Right.
intense, and I'm like, okay, every day I have to figure out how to bring it.
Right.
And I was that young one, and I'm like, you know what? There's a list. I remember my first race when I got to college. My first race was the Pepsi meet. They used to have the Pepsi meet at UCLA, and it was like Olympians and all these people were in my race. And Bobby just threw me to the wolves, in my opinion. And so I'm out there we were taking off our sweats, getting ready to this was the hurdle race I was supposed to run. Taking off my sweats, getting ready to get in the blocks or getting ready to walk over there. And I hear somebody say, Gail. Now, if you know Bobby, if you hear his mouth, you know it's his mouth.
Right, yes.
He's very loud.
Yes.
And if you don't answer him, you'll have some explicits come out. So
I'm familiar with somebody like that.
yeah. So he was like, Gail. And I'm like, he's like, here. And I'm like, oh, Lord. Okay. So I run over there and I'm like, okay, yeah. He said, I just want to tell you, don't choke.
Well, thank you.
Don't choke.
I said,
Right
I
before
didn't
I
say
run.
anything. I just looked at him like, okay, this man has lost his mind. I ran back to the, because we were getting ready to get in the blocks.
Right.
I ran back, got in the blocks, and I'm like, the whole time, I'm like, I can't believe Bobby to myself. I didn't say it out loud, but to myself, I'm like, this man has lost his mind. And I was like, I can't believe we're getting ready to get in the blocks, and he's calling me over to tell me that.
Right.
I run the race. I win the race. I didn't take a victory lap. I didn't do anything. This is my first world class,
Right.
UCLA, whatever. I run over to him, and I was like, I just want to tell you something. I might mess up, but I never choke. And I walked away.
Nice.
And he was like, that's all I needed to know. I
Nice.
wanted you more mad and thinking and focusing on me than you were these people that you were about to run against.
Wow.
Smart move.
Wow.
Nice.
Head
That's
game.
why dude is the greatest.
Head game.
The
Yeah, that's why.
psychology
Yes.
of it all,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
So
Right,
when you talk about that, okay, so your daughter Carson. So, Mike, okay, so I get it. I've had a couple glimpses of the competitor in you, because I've seen when Carson has stepped on the track, there's a light, something that goes off, and you're looking at her and you're talking to her and you're basically saying, "Let's go."
Right.
And it's the way she
Right.
says it, Coach Cross, right? And it's
Wait,
kind
I
of
said
like
you guys gonna mark it.
I
Yeah.
said I want marketing a text notification that says let's
right.
go.
And it's the way you say it. And the first time I heard you say it, I think Carson was running in I think it was an indoor meet. She was running a 60. And I said to myself, that's the Gail Devers, the Olympian right there.
Right.
That's the one you don't want to mess with.
Right.
Like, that's the one right there. So I can see why when you talk about that situation, the race you ran and you won it, you're just a competitor.
Oh, yeah.
And I wouldn't want to compete against you. I'm just saying right now.
Oh no, trust me, I've had meets where, like, I consider myself to be this, like, mild mannered. I mind my own business.
Right,
I come over here, I'm warming up, doing my own thing. And
Yes, but yes.
oh, don't get on my bad side though.
Exactly.
Oh, because that Gail Devers will come out.
I know. And
I
it's
protect
dangerous.
kids.
She's dangerous.
I protect animals. Don't play.
Yes.
And what I hear though, Gail, is that the ladies on the track talk more mess to each other than the males. Was that part a driving force, or just, or maybe not talk mess, but just the way you react to each other, communicate to us on the track?
Well, I guess
different?
but I was different. I didn't talk
See?
because I'm like, I don't need to talk.
You don't need to talk,
I
right.
assume that my feet are going to handle the business,
Right.
and so the more people talk, I used to say it's doom. It's just gonna make me mad.
Yes.
I've had a meet where I'm there and I put my blocks out. I have, sometimes the meets back then we used to have to bring our own blocks. Now, if I carried these blocks this whole way on this trip, and I put them down, and you guys gonna try to take them, it's about to be on.
Right.
So you found motivation in just about everything. Gotcha.
I mean, and I think you have to.
Yeah.
Yes.
So somebody move my block, or I'm warming up and you move my hurdles. Okay, that didn't affect me the way you wanted it to.
Right.
Now I'm gonna bring out the other side of me.
Oh,
Right.
Okay.
So-
Alter ego.
Look, so not to get off topic, and I think that's something we all have had a discussion about where we've talked to the kids, where we've said, you have to find some motivation. And for me, I've never been taller than 5'5", so you can imagine how tall I was in high school. So the guys who was to my right and left, taller than me,
Right.
and I would just look them up and down, and I would just get up. I would just find a reason,
Right.
like, dude, I saw you looking at my girl. Like I like her. You was talking to her. Like, let's go. Like, I would find
Right.
anything, like some
To
type
get
of
you going.
motivation. I
Yeah.
think not all kids, but a lot of kids nowadays, everybody's their friend and their buddy, and they don't know how to turn that switch on and off, and they're afraid to hurt someone's feelings by pretty much running them into the ground.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, and I get that. I always tell people, my best friend was Jackie Joyner Kersee. All right.
Oh, wow.
And we competed together. There was a time when 1988, she went out. We were both like, okay, how come we can't break 13 seconds in the hurdles? We were like 13:03, 13:01, 13:02. So we run these races. And then she went to a race and she ran, I think she did it first. No, I think I did it first. I ran like 12:74 and the American record was 12:76. So I was the first one in college to break the American record as a collegiate athlete. She went the next day and ran 12:73 or something. I'm like, okay, because I remember Bobby, he was like, well, you had the record. Now Jackie's got the record. I'm like, okay. And then maybe like a month later, we went to another meet and I called and because Bobby doesn't really come to the meets or whatever, you know, he's got this. And same thing you see when Sydney and those guys say he doesn't come, he doesn't come.
Right.
Wow.
Why? He doesn't need to come. If he hasn't prepared you, there's a problem.
Wow.
So he called and he said, how'd you do? I said, I ran 12:61. What did Jackie do? He said, well, she didn't break your record, but now you guys are tied. I'm like, okay. So we're best friends, but we get in the race together. I'm about to put my foot off on Jackie's tail.
Right.
And then we can go shopping after.
Right.
You know? But that's how it has to be. And then even, you know, like I said, Bobby doesn't come. So there was an incident, what was it, 92? I think 92 Olympics. So we're in Barcelona. We have to travel on the bus because they're making us ride the bus. You can't ride separately. If your coaches want to come, they got to come to your practice afterwards, you know, and get and our physiotherapist and everybody. Right. So we're on the bus and all of a sudden there's a lot of turnabouts. And everybody's like, uh-oh. And we're like, what? They're like, oh, Bobby's out. Hands flailing. Something's going on. The police are coming, you know, and they're like, uh-oh. So they got into an altercation with somebody, the police came or whatever, and so we were like looking out the back, and then all of a sudden we turned around and was like, okay. And so everybody was looking at us like, really? We get to the track, Jackie and I, we warm up or whatever. People are like, you guys don't care, Bobby's still not here, it's been over an hour. And I was like, you know what? Hopefully in jail, they have a TV.
So you can see the race.
And Bobby can see my race.
Right.
What is he going to do for me now?
Right.
You know?
Right.
I'm like, he'll be excited when he sees in jail. He'll be like, I coached him. You know? I'm like, there's nothing he can do at that point. You know? So we just had a different, I guess, personality when it came to that kind of stuff. It was like, I'm at the meet. If Bobby says something to me, I'm mad. Why are you talking to me now?
True.
It's the same. You don't talk to Carson during a meeting. Stay away from Carson like 20 yards.
One of the reasons why I nicknamed my son Flash,
I love that name.
is because I wanted him to feel like he could be somebody other than himself on the track.
There you go.
And it sounds like that's part of what you did. When did you? And you have to consider energy or how your energy is and what energy you may lose with your thought process or what energy you may expend before the meet. When did you make that flip? When did you make the change, I guess, as you approached a meet or approached competition, especially when you had Jackie Joyner Kersee, you know, sitting beside you on the bus or, you know, like, when do you make that change?
I mean, my roommate was always Florence. So I'm like, wow. You know, when we travel, that's what I'm saying. I was the youngest in this group of stellar athletes. And I always tell people, okay, if you look on the shelf and you've got whatever, mustard, what makes you pick that mustard over that one?
Gotcha.
How can I make myself stand out? Right. I'm coming into an arena where everybody that I'm training with has multiple gold medals.
Right.
Wow.
They have multiple records. And I'm this little kid with the high white socks on from San Diego.
Right.
What am I going to do? I made a list. I put everybody's name on it and I start checking them off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
I like it.
Love it.
Motivation.
Love it.
I need my tracksuit, Coach.
Right. Okay, so listen, let's talk a little bit about your invitational, because everything that you're talking about, everything comes full circle because you have a legacy. You're an Olympian, world champion. You know, you survived Graves' disease. This invitational, the GDI invitational, the staff that you've put together along with Coach Cross, it's going to pretty much solidify everything. And I want people to understand that this is not just a regular high school track and field invitational. There's a legacy behind this. And the legacy is so great and good, and there's history. This invitational can continue to carry that with your name, if that makes sense.
Right.
So it's like if you're going to go to this invitational and you're going to compete, be a part of it, whether you're competing or you're volunteering or you're a sponsor, you're being part of something great. Right. So tell us about how that got started. You know, this is the second season. How did that get started? It's at Mountain View High School, Coach Cross and Gail. Tell us about that.
Okay, so wait, before you start, because I know you're going to start. First of all, how did I get to UCLA? How did I get to Mountain View? I was voluntold by Coach Andre and Coach Cross. That's how I got on the coaching staff. I was voluntold, not a volunteer.
It was, first off, I like how it all started because it was that 2020 season that we kind of got canceled.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was kind of like we had a taste of what our season was going to be like because we had a select group of seniors. I thought they were going to, I think, shout out to Jaden LaFrance. I still think about him all the time.
Right.
That we just thought we're going to go the right direction. And one thing I always had in my memory was Gail started joining. Then we had Mike right there on the fence giving the tips in the blocks. And then we had you and Lynn. And I was sitting there going, man, we have a good staff. We just need to do something about it. And, here we are now. And I was like, Gail, you can come out like anytime you want. I'm not going to fight you about it, because we were at Discovery and I heard somebody say, well, you got to go to the 100 now. You got this. And it was Carson was in the long jump. And then Gail knew what was going on with the calls and everything. And I'll be honest with you, it was just a bad weather day and it was kind of dysfunctional out there. But Gail was like in tune. I was like, this lady needs to be out here with us. Because like I'm sitting here just making sure all these kids are sitting still. You're warming up some kids. And I was like, she just gets it.
Right.
And then, me, I was younger, so I find out who Gail is, and I do my back records on everything. And I go, okay, cool. Yeah, I know. And my dad was like, you hanging out with who? Gail Devers. I was like, yeah, it's Gail. Like, I had Gail on speaker one day, and I'm like hanging out at my parents' house talking to them about some stuff, and he's like, who are you on the phone with for like 45 minutes? Like, and I was like, oh, that was my friend Gail. Like, she coaches with me. He's like, oh, who? And they heard me say Devers, and my mom comes around the corner. She's like, what? She's like, and then that's when we Google Gail some more and everything. So that's how Gail came about it. And then as we went on the following season, we finally got Mike on board too. So I was lucked out having all of y'all. So it kind of took the pressure off of wondering what to do, how to do it when you have the bodies. And then now we've got James White, we got a bunch of other people on staff now that have added to it. So I'm lucky. Gail was a startup, and I always tell her I'm thankful for her and I appreciate her.
Right.
So
that's huge.
That's how we started the staff. I mean, it's a good run.
Right.
Now, so how did you guys come about the invitational itself? Because I know you and I had a couple conversations.
Don't even sit there and act like you don't know. That was you guys. I'm telling it all. That was Coach Cross and Coach Andre talking about, we should have a meet Gail Devers, and I ignored you guys for like the longest time.
Wait, real quick, Coach Cross. It took me a minute to figure out. You don't go to Gail, you go to Mike. it took me a minute to figure that out.
Mike's in the studio.
You can come to Gail and be like, Gail, can I borrow $1 million? And then the thing is, you'll learn real quick. Oh, Mike's the one I need to ask for that money.
You know me. You got to go to Mike. That's what I hear.
So I ignored you guys because I'm like, it's just kind of weird that you want to have a meet or whatever. But then when you guys kept talking about it, and I'm from California, so that Arcadia meet, it was a meet that it was an invitational, and you look forward to getting those invitations to be able to come to that meet. Everybody can't come. So you're from California, so we had that conversation about this is where we want to build this meet.
Right.
We want it to, we'll start here, but we want to build it to be something that's big, and then eventually have it to be maybe a 3-day meet where you have high school, then you have college, and you have open. There's not a lot, there's not a lot of places here.
Right.
And I even say, we're very fortunate at Mountain View. You always talked about the facilities that they have at Mountain View, and Coach Cross was good about, like, he'll put it all together and make it work, so.
One thing I learned about coaching track is you're on the fly.
Right.
Yeah.
True that.
I think one thing that kind of stuck in my mind, like I coached football for several years, that they have a 7-on-7 tour of things, and how teams would always facilitate towards a national. Nike used to host a national select 7-on-7.
Right.
And I was student teaching and coaching at North Gwinnett, and shout out to Coach Bob Kersee. He's in Kentucky now, where he started, but he was really good at GMing stuff to where all these teams, Hoover, anybody, De La Salle would come out from California, and I was sitting there going, okay, all he had to do was pick up the phone and call people.
Right.
And I noticed that the one thing in track that lacked, and it's not a negative thing, is that we all run in these pockets.
Right.
Yes.
In Georgia.
Right, true.
Yes.
And we stay in our pockets.
Right.
And the problem was, nobody just pick up the phone and call. So I
Right.
literally started, after we talked about it, I kind of nodded to you, and then we asked Mike. Mike's like, yeah, GDI would sound good. That sounds good.
Right.
And everything made sense. They just opened up Gravel Springs exit off 85 where
Oh, nice. Yeah.
sitting near the mall with the hotels. I'm going, oh, this is cake. And
Yes.
all I did was, shout out to Nick at Marietta and Coach Doe at North Atlanta, who coincidentally, they both won the GDI for the boys and girls last year. They committed to it in May. I started posting on Twitter, and then you had to start just kind of simply just notifying people, hey, this is who's coming.
Right.
And all you did was this. The beauty of track is it's not like football where you got your classifications, and sometimes the classifications play a factor into how that team will perform against a 1A private school team.
Right,
With track, it don't matter. Time is time.
Time is time.
And I'm going, we can make Heat 1 be just as good as Heat 10 in a 100 meter potentially.
Right.
The only difference is it's alphabetical.
Right.
That's my goal at the end of the day.
Right.
Like 10 years from now, I want to look back and be like, the Heats are only organized just by the ABCs of their last names.
Right.
Not that, all those times are going to fall into place.
Right.
I think to sum it all up, me and her, we were actually working concession stand, I think either for one of your meets or something.
Yeah.
And we started going through mile split, like, oh, this is a top, we should get this school because this
Right.
person's top in 100. And that's kind of how we started picking the teams.
Yeah.
So-
So go ahead, Coach.
Gail, so do you understand how, and I understand like professional athletes, when they retire, sometimes they just want to step away. Do you really understand now, this being the Gail Devers Invitational, this will be the second annual, do you understand how huge you are? Do you understand the depth or how far you've reached as far as your achievements when somebody says your name, like Coach Cross said, he was saying your name and parents are, looking around the corner. Do you understand that? So when you're making those calls and you mention Gail Devers, do people do you really understand that? Or do you mentioned Arcadia, and your meet will soon be just as big. Are you grasping that right now, or how does it? How do you
I'm
feel?
excited about the idea. I look at me, I'm just Gail.
Right.
I'm really just Gail.
Right.
I think my life is about service. And so all that I've gone through with my Graves' disease and coming close to having my feet amputated and all the things that I've gone through in my life have made me.
Right.
And I used to say I wanted to be a teacher. So doing it my way, I would have been in a classroom with 30, 35 kids. Doing it God's way, I've got the world as my classroom.
Right. Wow.
I used to go to track meets and I see somebody, I'm like, oh, come here, let me help you. Just because it's just something, there's something in me. And I think that if there's something that has happened in your life that you can touch somebody else and make a difference, that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And I think with this meet, now, by no means am I saying, oh, you're going to be an Olympian or even to aspire to be one. But I think what sports brings to kids is teaching them that never give up attitude, that, I believe everybody has a championship mentality.
Right.
It's just sometimes you got to reach real down deep to find it and bring it out.
Right.
And that's what we as adults or those who have gone before, that's what we're here for. Gotcha. I think this meet can be something that can just show them, people always they even talked about last year, we were talking about the medals. And I was like, I want it to be world class.
Right.
I
Nice,
want it to
nice.
be stellar. It can't be some little rinky dink. It has to be something that if you're going to, you want these kids to be the best.
Right.
So give them the best. Give them something that they might cherish or something that they'll say, oh, this is pretty cool. And we had that last year. What Miles Split gave a review, and they were like, you know, how did they get this?
This before the meet was even
Right, caliber
happen.
of athletes,
Right.
you know, at a first time meet. And if you ask, I mean, what's the worst somebody's going to say is no.
Right.
I've been told no many times.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so I have no problem asking. Now I'm going to keep coming back to you until you get tired of it.
I like it.
And then eventually you're going to be like, okay, hold on. We're about done with her, so let's get this done, you know.
Yeah.
And even last year, what I think we all do a good job of is we come together.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
we were shorthanded last year because the person that was supposed to be there couldn't be there, and we just handed Coach Andre the mic.
He's really good at emceeing. I'm telling you.
Like he's doing now.
Yeah. But you know, it's like everybody. It's that relay. Everybody doing their part,
Right.
looking at that finish line or looking past that finish line, and who's going to benefit? These kids are going to benefit.
Right.
Right.
They know people care about them. They know people are going beyond. I don't understand why we have to go somewhere else when we can have it right here in Gwinnett County.
Right.
It doesn't have to be at one track.
Right.
We can have, you know, I'm still waiting for somebody in Gwinnett County to host state
Yes.
and figure out how can we do this? Can we have, like we were talking about, doing the meet in the first place?
Right.
You know, one part of it at one school, one part of it at another school.
Right, right.
Yes.
It's about, you know, sharing the resources and the revenue. You know, one of the things that kind of bothered me when I first, even before my kids got to Mountain View, was I have known these kids since Patrick.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And a lot of them now are at second or whatever. But they're like, oh, Miss Devers, will you come to the meet? And I'm like, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, where's your meet? When's it going to be at Mountain View? And they're like, oh, we don't have meets at Mountain View. I'm like, huh? Yeah.
No, you
I
said
do want to
Patrick.
touch on that. Go ahead. I want to touch on some of that.
Yeah, it's just not understanding why. And I, like I said, I'm that person that I will assess the situation, but I'm not just going to complain about it. I'm going to find a reason and find results.
Right.
And if I don't know it, I'm going to find somebody who has the answers. And I think all of us are like minds, and we're out for the right reason.
Right.
Right.
And that's to help these kids, to
Right.
promote these kids, to help save their mothers and fathers some money if you can get them scholarships to get them
Yes.
in college.
Indeed.
You know, and what does that take? That also takes teaching these kids. You have to be the best you can be. You're only as good as your last performance, because that's what somebody saw.
Yeah.
That's it.
So what are you going to
Absolutely
leave?
right.
Yeah.
What legacy? You talk about a legacy. Your legacy is every time you put your foot in front of the other,
Right.
you left something behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Nice, nice. So I want to touch on a couple things. First, about the meet. Mountain View High School. First of all, some of the best facilities. The track sits ground level. Pull up in a parking lot. You can see the track, right? Walk right onto the track. You have a warm-up field pretty much behind the stadium. There's enough room back there to build another stadium. So you don't
Agreed.
have to walk far from the warm-up to get on the track.
Yep.
You guys set up Tent City on a warm-up field as well. It's right off the interstate, 400 meters, if that. So you go off the interstate, you can pull up into the school. You've got Top Golf, Mall of Georgia, Andretti's, hotels, restaurants. And the meet is not just for Georgia high school teams. Any high school across the nation can sign up and register for this meet.
Correct.
So if you're in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, you guys need to really think hard about your meet schedule and put this meet on your schedule, because we believe in everything that Gail just said. That's the reason why the meet was so successful last season. That's why it's going to be even a bigger success this season. Sponsors, there's still sponsorships available.
Yep, plenty of.
Yes.
Pro Sports Consulting Group, they are helping us, and shout out to Ms. Stewart and Matt Reddick, the AD. We're having our second jump pit installed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
over
made
the
a
break.
promise
Thanks
last
for
year.
bringing that up. There'll be
Nice.
2 long jump pits
Yes.
as
Yep.
well that's being done.
Yep.
So
Yes.
basically, this is an invitation for all schools across the nation to come get some of this Georgia heat. And I'm not
It
talking
is.
about the weather. I'm talking about on the track.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did decide to have a warmer date this year. We lucked out last year, and it still was chilly, but it had rained all week and it had stopped. But even if you're individually wanting to register somebody, we welcome you with open arms.
Nice.
Okay.
We want to expose as many kids we can. We feel that
Right.
can compete
Right.
with the competition we're trying to put out there.
Right.
Nice.
So what I like about the date is, for Georgia in particular, is that this is a meet where you can get some competition in before you go on your region, sectional, and state run. Because the way track and field is out here now, there's competition, don't get me wrong, but it's so spread out. Just
Right.
like you
True.
said earlier,
True.
there's these pockets, and everybody pretty much stay in their pockets.
Right.
Yep.
But this is a meet where you can come in, okay, now I know and see what fast is like.
Yeah.
And this is actually going to help me as I continue with my state run. Some kids really don't see that level of competition until they get to state.
And,
Right.
not to cut you off, but that first year we went to state after the 2020, you said the kids don't realize until sometimes they get to state how significantly different it is.
Right.
And I feel like this is the best measuring tool you're going to get when it comes to times and speed.
Right.
Yes.
And even sectional sometimes, even when we're looking at the 4x8 last year, a lot of our kids go, man, these times are fast. They're just like the ones at the GDI.
Right.
And that kind of secured me going, man, this is going to be good.
Right.
Even an example, like you talk about speed. Now, it was 30 degrees last year. It was cold, which is
remember
why
that,
we've
yes.
changed. But we had one of the kids from Langston Hughes, who
Maurice
Gleason,
Yeah.
even on
Oh,
that
yeah, I
track,
know
he
him.
ran like
Yeah.
1071 in the
Yeah.
cold
Yeah.
and went on to run 1020.
Yes.
Right.
One of the
right.
top in the nations. We
Right.
had some kids from Colorado to come in.
I remember the young
last
lady,
year,
yes.
and they opened up, and
Yeah,
so
so
I
no
felt
excuses.
like I felt blessed that they decided to open up their meet at our meet. So
Right.
we're looking for that to continue. I
Nice.
mean, we really are.
Nice.
Nice. So we have the custom medals. All the relay teams got each team that won a relay, they got a relay baton.
Right. This year we're going to have medals. Will be everywhere. So this year, instead of the sprint, my picture on a sprint, it will be a hurdle. So
Okay.
our logo this year will be the actual medal shot this year.
Nice.
Nice.
And everyone will get that. We're looking for sponsorships, so we want to give swag bags to everyone.
Okay.
Oh, nice,
and then
nice.
have the sponsors be able to put something in those swag bags. So if you know of somebody who's
special,
got a
Coach.
business, we want to really do a good job of, when there are businesses that support our kids, we want to in turn support them.
Right.
True.
And
True.
tell you, that's our way of telling you thank you.
Yeah.
Is
Indeed.
to be a patron in your establishment, whether it's online or however.
Right.
So, and then do a good job. Coach Cross does a great job of social media, getting everything out.
He does. He's changed the game. I
Yeah.
think.
I just think it's alignment
He's-
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You got to have
Yeah.
everything aligned on your website, on Twitter, on Instagram. Like Gail said, I just feel like it's full circle. Like at the end of the day, like people are like, some of my friends that I'm always doing stuff with them. They're like, man, do you ever like socially do anything? I'm like, I just feel like it's what I'm supposed to do and where I'm supposed to
Right.
be. Even like some days I'll be coaching, but then some days I'll be looking, I might be like, yo, does this logo look good? Like,
Right.
it pops in my
Right.
head.
Like
Yeah,
that.
you asking the kids
Yeah.
like, how does this look? Yeah.
But like, it's the way it is.
Coach Cross, so I'm gonna give you a lot of credit because, and I'm just using them as an example, like Buford football. Their social media, their platform, their marketing and everything, they do it. I've seen them do it better than a lot of schools. I'm gonna just say in
Yeah.
Gwinnett County, probably in the state. You're doing things with Mountain View's track team and the Gail Devers Invitational, marketing wise, social media wise, that no high school track teams are doing.
I appreciate
and
it.
And some of the things you're doing, how you're spotlighting your seniors, teams that are registering for the Gail Devers Invitational, meets, team captains, things like that. I think those are some of the things that have been missing to where, like you were saying earlier, the kids, they feel, involved. It's not like I'm just going to track practice, running 200s, and then coaches put me out on the meet and I'm just competing. No, you're part of something.
Part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So I gotta give you a lot of credit, man. You,
appreciate
you
it.
do a great job with
Yeah,
that.
I just-
and it makes a difference.
I see that the kids, social media does drive a lot of our stuff right now, and I know the kids are always watching certain things, and I feel like we got to pat them on the back and kind of have them recognized like that with like senior
Right.
spotlights, stuff like that, because there is some seniors out there, they're on the bubble, they might not even run after high school,
Right.
but
Yeah.
you want your culture, which I think, and not knocking before all of us got there. I feel like me and Gail have really focused on the culture, you know, just checking off our list of like, okay, we hosted some meets now,
Right.
Mountain View. We got the track thanks to Gail. We've got our track, you know, a lot more better condition and refurbished in the way it should be. And then, you know, me and her were like, okay, we've done midweek meets. Now it's like, now we had that one GDI. And she was laughing the other day. Me and her are like sitting here going, we have our checklist. We got everything marked off. And we're like waiting on everybody to get their stuff in. And we're like, man, this was so easy. Because last year we were bugging out going, who do we order cheese shirts from? How do you get these medals? Like, we're leading up to, we're like, is Mike on the way with like the bibs? Right. But now like with this, and you know, I appreciate y'all coming to me, but like Gail's my motivation. And like, you know, I appreciate Gail and like what she's been through. Like I had a grandmother that I lost battle with ALS. So seeing somebody like Gail fight through that and still you know, persevere through everything, I was like, okay, well, I got to do something. And I just feel like no matter what faith you have, you always have that gravitational pull towards somebody. And like, if I didn't have her and Mike, you know, I'd be teaching, coaching, but like, I have a sense of direction in life because of them. And, you know, even my girlfriend today was like, you need to like start doing some of this marketing stuff. You know, it pays more than that teaching. And I'm going, yeah, but like
you've been killing it.
Yeah,
you really have.
You know, but Gail coming through with everything, and she keeps reminding me. She doesn't have to say it to me. I see her just advocating for the kids, and I'll ask her to come pick up something from my room, and next thing you know, she's helping me like accommodate and teach some of these kids my 7-period class. You know, she steps in whenever you're needed. Even Mike does. Yeah, Coach James, all of our staff. Without them, you know, the marketing wouldn't even be here. It's just, it starts with us, with the culture, and then where we're at as a brand. And we got to brand us as like Mountain View. Obviously, I'm always going to be a part of Mountain View, but without Gail, I don't think I would have been able to go in this direction with the program.
That might be a perfect segue with regard to Gail's adversity. Because you started to experience, and let me know, Coach.
No, go ahead, Coach. Yes.
You started to experience Graves' disease before that in 1992, before your 100-meter goal.
Yeah, I actually, so I set the American record in 1988.
Okay.
While I was in college. And then I always tell people it's like I was on top of the world.
Right.
And then somebody took the world away.
Right.
I got to Seoul, Korea, and I went from running my personal best to running slower than I'd ever run.
Wow.
Didn't make the final, couldn't understand what was going on because I'm like a sticky note queen where I write my goals down, I sign them, and you know, I set realistic goals, small, mid, and long range goals. Couldn't understand what was going on, and come back to the States, my weight started to plummet. My normal running weight is 120. I got down, one scale said 79, one said 80. There's a problem. My hair is falling out, my nails are breaking, my skin is discolored, my face is just all kinds of stuff is going on. My eyes wouldn't close when I slept. So I was also having eye symptoms. And this went on for like 2.5, almost 3 years.
Wow.
Where I would go to the doctors and the doctor's like, oh, I'm sorry, there's nothing wrong. Or maybe you're stressed out. Maybe you peaked too many times, or maybe you're imagining this.
Right.
And that wasn't the case. You know, we always say as an athlete, you know your body.
Right. Definitely.
Now,
And I
were you
knew something
competing?
I was trying. I was still in college.
Oh, wow.
So you were still in college?
I was in college and had made the 1988 Olympic team.
Okay.
And then I didn't make the finals and couldn't understand why. But I had just set the American record like a month and whatever in May.
Gotcha.
And if you look at the record books, I ran 12:61 to set the American record then. The silver medal time was like 12:63 at the Olympic Games. So, you know, statisticians talk about what could, you know, and they say you never should live in, but what would have happened?
Yeah.
You know, for 3 years I suffered, had to stop running. My heart rate was crazy. Resting heart rate was just over the top. Couldn't understand what was going on. And thankfully, you know, my friends and family and coach, you know, they stuck by me as far as like, I tried to give a resignation letter because I'm like, you got all these people out here and I'm going backwards.
Right.
He's like, I don't know what you're going through, but we're going to figure it out together.
Right.
And that was Bobby. And
That's
that's
some
just
good
how Bobby
support.
is, you know. And it was, like I said, almost 3 years later that they diagnosed me with Graves' disease.
Wow.
I was still having problems with my eyes, though. Couldn't figure out, they were red, they were bulging. When I slept, they didn't close all the way. They were painful. It took me 30 years before I found out that in addition to my Graves' disease, I had something called thyroid eye disease. And I always tell people, I gave him a name. His name is Ted. Because if somebody lives with you for 30 years and you don't know they're there,
right.
he's like a squatter.
I get it.
Ted got to go.
Right.
But, so now I'm under an oculoplastic surgeon or a neuro-ophthalmologist, that kind of care.
Gotcha.
I came very close to having my feet amputated. I woke up one morning, my feet were blistered. It's like, okay, where is this coming from? Went to a podiatrist. He said, oh, it has nothing to do with your Graves' disease. What you have is athlete's feet. I'm like, dude, I am not dirty.
Right.
That's not the case.
Now, when was this, Gail?
Yeah.
This is in, that was January of 1990.
Okay.
So I went from 88 to 90, and then I went through like radiation treatment for my Graves' disease in September of 1990. And I was being monitored every 2 weeks or whatever.
I'm sorry, Gail. Now you're saying in 1990.
This is before the Olympics.
Wait,
Yeah.
in
Olympics.
between, you had just set the American record,
Right.
and then 2 years later, you're that close to having your feet
I came within days of having my feet amputated. Yes.
And then 2 years from that,
18 months after that, I was in lane 2. And back then, they gave you a lane based off of what they thought 4, 5, and 6 were the premier lanes. I was in
Right.
2, so that lets you know what they thought about me.
wow.
But I'm a person that, like I said, in addition to my sticky notes, I do a lot of visualization. So during that 2.5 years that I could not run, I saw myself. I visualized myself running my race, having the most explosive start,
Right.
running the race of my life, and getting what I call my 8 head across that finish line. And so lane 2, okay, that just means I can totally focus on me.
Right.
So when the gun went off, that's what I did. And I remember, they start from the bottom and they call out. I was in Barcelona. I had no clue what they were talking about. I just listened for my name.
Right.
And I remember the guy saying, and champion del mundo from USA, Gail Devers, And it was like, I had finally done it. I had lost sight of me and I finally caught up to me.
Right.
Right.
And I remember taking the victory lap, and the NBC guy was, with the camera. He's like, "Slow down, you gotta savor the moment." I was like, "You better come on, because you don't know what I'm doing." So
Still fast.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative to all the things that I've been able to accomplish. I think when God gives you talent, you're supposed to utilize that talent, and then He'll bless you in other ways. I think being able to come in contact with the people that I've come in contact with that are on the same page, we're all on the same mission.
Right.
I recruit relay people, and all we're doing is trying to get to that finish line.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And take people with us.
Yes.
Educate kids. And it's not just for on the track, it's life lessons.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you said, you gave Flash the name Flash. Be your alter ego.
Right.
And do it. My nickname is Stormy.
Okay.
Now, when I was little, I came in this stuff, I don't know if it was all great, but I did it in a storm. Okay? It was still a storm. So, or gale force winds.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
So that's me.
Nice.
And my whole goal in everything that I do, whether it's a track meet or coaching, is to take the world by storm.
Right.
Right.
And figure out how can I touch somebody's life and make a difference.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm appreciative to all of you guys for being on this journey with me.
Yeah.
We're here for you.
We're excited
Cheering you on.
to know that a lot of that happened before 1992.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking now, I'm saying to myself, anybody complaining about a workout or any event they have to run at a meet, it's kind of like, dude, really?
Oh, in the trial, well, not the trials, but one of the races, our rounds in 92, I was still having where I got numbness and couldn't feel my feet or whatever. And I remember Bobby saying, I didn't run it the way we had planned to run it. And I finished and he was like, what was that? I was like, what do you mean? He said, what were you doing? I said, well, I couldn't feel my feet. He's like, well, you can feel your hands, right? I said, yeah. He said, you better work out of your hands and tell your feet to keep up.
Wow.
So,
Go Pearson.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I do have a question. So when you started running the hurdles, how was that with your feet? Because it's a different movement. You coming over the hurdle, you got to plant that foot down, push off. How did you adjust to that?
And you ran the 100-meter sprint and that was a 100-meter sprint. It wasn't including the hurdles. You went on to win hurdles later,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So it's multiple. So I want everybody to know that she's not just a sprinter; she was a hurdler.
Oh, so
world
I'm known
champion,
as a
both.
hurdler.
Yeah.
Not a sprinter. I hopped in the sprint
Yeah.
to work on my speed for the
For the
hurdles.
hurdles.
And that's why I say it's not what other people believe, because they're like, oh, back then they were like, you shouldn't do that or you're going to mess up your hurdles. I'm like, well, I don't want to run in rhythm.
Yeah.
You know, hurdle is a rhythm and I don't want to run in rhythm. So I'm going to work on my speed. And if you look in the record books of the Olympics, you won't know that I was there in the hurdles. I fell over the last hurdle. I was on world record pace, fell over the last hurdle in 92. But in the 100, I mean, for somebody who was known as a hurdler, I did something that at that time only one other person, Wyoming
Right.
Matthias, had done. Went
Right.
back-to-back gold medals in the 100 meters. So it's about what you believe.
Yes.
And how long and how strong you're willing to work for
Right.
that.
No one else is doing the sprint hurdles and the 100-meter sprint nowadays.
No,
huh?
but I do see athletes now hopping in the 100 now.
Right.
And hopping in the 60. You know, I mentor a lot of them and talk to them. And, you know, like Jasmine Camacho. Like, girl, if you don't get your
Okay.
tail in that 200 and,
Right.
and that 60,
Right.
and because it's only going to help you. You want to be able to take whatever your 100 meter, because my thing was, if I set all the hurdles up, and we all lined up and we're all hurdlers.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what you can do or what you can't do, but if somebody all of a sudden, while we're standing there, if you remove the hurdles, I have no doubt who's going to win.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I want to be able to take that speed
Yes.
through the hurdles. Sometimes
Right.
it works, sometimes it don't.
Right.
But I'm always going to be 100.
Wow. Wow.
Okay. So nowadays, do you think that some, I'm gonna just say high school student athletes, and I'm gonna just track and field, do you think they get pigeonholed into their events? Whether they're just, it's like, okay, I'm a 100, 200 meter runner, that's it. Or I'm just a hurdler, that's it. Or I'm just a jumper, that's it. They have to be, when you're a track and field athlete, you're an athlete.
Right.
If you can run the hurdles, you have to be able to sprint.
What I tell
Through
the
the
kids at
hurdles.
practice every day.
And if you long jump, you have
Yeah.
to be able to sprint down a long jump runway
Well-
and display some power.
Well, it helps me like when I'm like coaching with her. Like I'll have like my iPad or like a notebook, but Gail will have her notebook.
Right.
But like
Think I'm
from
old school.
concept wise, she breaks it down like data and times and everything.
Right,
And I feel like
right.
kids will. Some of our kids don't pigeonhole themselves. I can see what you're saying there. Some will, but when she breaks it down, how they have increments of times and the paces they have to be on.
Right.
Then that kind of takes like the hurdles and all that stuff away.
Right.
I feel like, and we have some kids sometimes that are a little bit over obsessed with like the splits and the times they have divided
Yes.
up, and I feel like that helps maybe avoid that for being pigeonholed.
So, do you think the environment today allows you to do some of the things like what you've done? Like, I'm gonna just bring his name up, like the Zyrix kid and Will Sumner. To be able to have that range from the 2 to the 8, you don't see a lot of that.
I
Nowadays.
say everybody's a sprinter, and it just happens to be some people sprint longer than others.
Right.
I've taken last year, we took distance runners,
Yep.
and I made them
About to say
hurdlers,
that.
Yes.
and they qualified.
Yes.
You know, and
One got a letter in the mail the other day from Piedmont.
Nice.
you know,
Wow,
so
nice.
there are opportunities. You know,
Yes.
access and opportunity is what distinguishes
Yes.
people.
Right.
I think you have to be willing to do anything, to try anything.
Right.
You want that long range. I say there's kids now. I'm like, I want to see if you can run 8 to 4, and we're gonna post the time and all that because colleges are looking,
They are.
Yes.
Yeah.
and you don't know what they need in their
Right.
in their
true.
program.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It
Right.
may not be where you want to go. You gotta
Right.
go where somebody wants you when you fit
Right.
in.
Right.
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 So one thing I have noticed, and Coach Irv and I was talking about this the other day, when you look at a lot of kids that's being recruited today, and it's a now that I know COVID's still around, but we're beyond that. It's a lot of the hurdlers, jumpers, 2, 4, and 800 meter runners that's being recruited.
Right.
High jumpers,
Right.
your triple jumpers, your long jumpers, your sprint hurdles, your long hurdlers, your 2, 4, 8. There are some 100 meter sprinters, 1, 2 male and females being recruited, but it's far fewer than those 2, 4, 8
Right.
hurdlers and jumpers.
Right. Right.
So yes, and that goes that just to piggyback on what you said, you never know what a college coach is looking for. They're looking for athletes.
Yeah, and you don't know where your talents lie. If you
Right.
say you're an athlete, okay, be willing to try anything.
That's right.
Right.
That's
I mean,
right.
especially jumps. I mean, we've had some. Coach Mike's taken a few that were think they're everybody wants to show them run the 1 and the 2, but they turned out they can sprint a lot better down the lane. Going
Like
into
Right.
we told everybody's a 400-meter runner.
Yeah. And you guys knows I keep trying to get Mike engaged, but he's not.
Yeah.
Witness protection.
Protection, right?
You know. Yeah. I've been looking
Look,
this
he's
way.
just looking at me.
I mentioned
over there like Suge
I
Knight.
mentioned Mike.
Looking at me.
I mentioned Mike, but I looked this way the whole time. No, but I mean, like, back to what you're saying with the jumps and everything. Like, when I get an email or just some sort of message from a coach, it's literally always the jumps and then the hurdles. It's ridiculous because I think that's what they're looking for at the end of the day, because it's few and far between where, like you said, kids try to pigeonhole themselves in certain like events, but like our staff's taken a few kids, even kids that randomly pigeonhole themselves in a sport, and we're like, no, come out to track.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
I think one kid is at Tech right now, AJ. Shout out to AJ. I mean, that kid was just playing basketball and football.
Right.
And he turned out to be, Mike can tell you, I love the kid to death. One of our best jumpers, holds both the long and triple at Mountain View.
Right.
I think that goes to be said, Coach Cross, is the passion that we're trying to display with what we're doing, what you're doing with the Gail Devers Invitational. Just the passion, and you can see, especially when coaches are reaching out to these athletes that are in these varying disciplines,
Right.
where track and field is going.
Right.
These coaches are looking to develop these athletes, and if you are running the 400, hey, and I need a 200, guess what? You come in. I like what I see in the 400. Guess what? We gonna put you in this 2, or I know you fast enough to run that 2. I'm gonna put you in this 8. Right now we got some 2s. We got some juniors, seniors who are beasts. They're about to move on, but guess what? So I do appreciate what you're doing, and I do love what I'm seeing and where track and field is going.
Right.
And I want to say thank you to you too, Coach Andre, because you've always done a good job of you know a lot of people. Your network is very big as far as
He's the mayor.
who you know, and you always try to position these kids to be seen. You bring coaches around and introduce, and it makes a difference. So thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you a lot.
I appreciate that. Well, I will say this, a couple things. When you think about it, we're in our 16th season. I've had a group of men and women around me to help me do the things I've been allowed to do. First of all, my wife and children have allowed me to do what I do. But like Coach Irv and James Harris and Goodlow and Marlon Patterson, Anthony Knight, and some of those guys, and I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing. They stood by me. That's one. Two, when you think about it, Mountain View has supported what we've done for over the past decade, for the past 12 or 14 years. Wayne Smith, who's the new AD? I'm sorry.
Matt Reddick.
Matt Reddick. I coached cross country with him a couple years, him and his wife at Mountain View.
Glenn George.
Yes, Glenn George.
yeah.
Cheney.
Yep.
The new principal. Help me out, Coach. Miss Stewart. Everyone has supported what we've done, and it's because of that we've been able to do the things that we've set out and the goals and the tasks. So I have to tip my hat to Mountain View, because no other school in Gwinnett County would give me an opportunity to run and do Jackrabbit.
Yep.
And Mountain View has supported that. So I have to take my hat off to them and thank Mountain View, everyone, the community school, the staff, the principal, all the football coaches, all the track coaches, the community. It's been great, but that's what it's about. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're sitting here and we're talking about this invitational, because I believe some people probably gonna get upset. There's track and field all over in Gwinnett County, but when you think about it, Mountain View has kind of led the way with this invitational like you're putting on. Mountain View allows some of the first youth meets to happen in Gwinnett County. So I tip my hat to you guys and the whole Mountain View community. It's been great.
We appreciate it. And to support what you're saying, there's other programs we admire like Archer and other people across the county that we take bits and pieces of what they have, and we're like, I want to run this like that. I want to be able to have a staff like this. I want to be able to have that community. I'm a Norquinette guy.
Right.
I look at how their community supports them and backs them up, and Mountain View's heading in the right direction with all that. And I try to have these models in my head, and Gail said it best, like, I just end up with same type of people, same direction. We're on the same relay team right now.
Nice.
And you can see the landscape of high school track and field starting to change.
Right.
You can see it.
Right.
And I know football is king, and then you have softball, baseball. I believe track is right there because more kids running track and field than there ever have been in the past decade. And there's a lot of talent coming out of Mountain View High School. And Mountain View quietly has had a couple state champions. Jalen Virgil's on the top 10 all-time list of running 100 meters. You had him, Malachi, and the kid that went to Army that got unrestricted drafted, free agent. Yeah. Like, they've quietly have put out a lot of great athletes out of that school as well. So, but listen, I have a question for you. So I remember Mount Sac relays. So it would be collegiate on Thursday, and then they would run some Friday.
Right.
And then the high school athletes will come, the high school teams will come and run on that Friday, that Saturday morning and Sunday. And then that Saturday evening and all day Sunday, you will see all the professional athletes. Yep. Greg Foster, Evelyn Ashford, Edwin Moses. All those professional athletes used to come out. I can see, it's just me, and Mountain View has the land to do it. They have property over there.
There's some real estate.
But I can see the Gail Devers Invitational getting that big.
That's the goal. I mean, that is the goal. And then even to have I would love to have a sponsorship where I understand we're Gwinnett County, but that somebody comes in and resurfaces and puts a really fast track there.
Yes.
And then if you build it, they will come.
Let's
100%.
Let's speak it.
Yeah.
Speak it into existence.
I'm that person.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, sponsors, Nike, ESPN, Adidas, New Balance.
Yes, exactly.
McDonald's, Burger King. We don't care. So we're looking for sponsors. Even local businesses. You can get in touch with Mountain View High School track team. If you have any problems getting in touch with Coach Cross, you can reach out to me directly. I'll make sure we get the message. The message to your board that you guys have for the Gail Devers Invitational. But I'm really looking forward to this spring to see what the second annual invitation is going to bring.
Well, I have to say thank you to you guys, because if it wasn't for you, it wouldn't happen.
Just it's funny how a small fence conversation led to this. So.
But that's funny because every time we talked about it, we go on the fence.
Mike said, step into my office.
I mean, I'm telling you, literally, we're sitting there, and long story short, the actual story of it was we're trying to get a Saturday meet for Mountain View, and we're like, man, how can we get teams to pull from here? Because we get midweek meets. And he goes, Andre's like, name one after Gail. Mike, what do you think? Sounds good to me. So then, Gail kind of deflects or whatever. And then, as the state meet ended 2 years ago, we just started calling people, and it's been history ever since. I want it to be like you're kind of just hypothetically saying. I want college coaches to roll up that weekend in transition, because it's right off 85. You could fly and go straight up 85, 75 north. And, I want them to be able to recruit while they're recruiting and looking. Then the next day, hopefully one day, you have college kids rolling into races.
And these kids get to see that. You want them to see that world class. And see how they do it.
Now that Mountain View High School, is it considered, Coach Cross, is it considered Lawrenceville or Buford?
Lawrenceville, but I like I said, I'm a North Gwinnett guy. I remember when all the schools were being built back then. They used to be North Gwinnett District back in 2003, 2004, Collins Hill area. So Lawrenceville itself's a big city, but we border Buford right there off of Gravel Springs Road. If you're familiar with Mall of Georgia, we're right off Gravel Springs Road in Sunny Hill. So you can't beat the location.
You can't.
I've been to every high school in Gwinnett, even in some states in Alabama, in Florida, and the accommodation of parking alone.
Right. Isn't there?
Yeah. You know, maybe one day we can get some state meets up through
Right.
75, 85 North.
Right.
You know, because we got a couple of schools I know that would be great to help us out with that as well.
So second annual Gail Devers Invitational, Mountain View
April
High School,
13th.
April 13th.
Yep.
13th.
Nice
Mountain View
weather.
High School, Lawrenceville,
Yep.
Georgia.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So volunteers, sponsors, get in touch with
Yes,
Mountain View
please.
High School track team, custom medals. We discussed we're gonna do team. You're gonna do team awards, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Coach Irv don't know this, but we're gonna sponsor the team awards. First, second, third place.
Coach Irv just found
TRAKWYRE
out.
will.
And we appreciate you doing that too.
Yeah.
That's even like we said earlier, like last year, me and Gail, we were stressing. We were like, who do we call? We need to do this, and this. And I'm like, do you know a number? No. Do you know a number? No. And now, you know, you kind of grow just even a year later going,
Right.
hey, I'll step in and help y'all with the awards. It just took a little bit
Yeah.
of pressure off of
Right.
But
me.
even you with the banners last year
Yes.
Yeah.
and placing them
Yes.
so that we still see stuff that's
Right.
mile split and you see those pictures.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So
Nice.
thank you.
Yes.
Nice.
And then we forgot to mention. So there's certified officials. So we're gonna
Yes.
have certified officials at all the field events,
Yeah, we have
the
USATF.
starter,
Yep.
finish line coordinator. Jackie Collins is gonna be. Is she the meet manager?
Yeah. Mhm.
She,
Yep.
you know, she'll be. You know, the meet manager.
Yeah.
So this is if you're a high school track and field team. This is going to be a different experience, a
Yeah.
different type of
We
meet.
want you to
Anything
coach your
like-
kids when you show up. We want you
Yes.
to actually coach your kids. We know that part of it's working the meets, but at the same
Right.
time, we want to show a high class level of it's like a state meet with the
Yes.
competition, but also be able to have you come in there and
Right.
coach. You know, maybe get a bite to eat too if you want to as well, but
Yeah.
we want it to be top notch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
And you
Let's
guys
do it.
still accepting vendors, correct?
Yes, we
Absolutely.
Yep.
And every year we're looking for, every year around goes higher and higher.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Nice. All right. Well, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let's not forget April 13th, 2024, the GDI, Gail Devers Invitational at Mountain View High School.
are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
nice.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You did a good job rubbing Mike in right now.